In the last 45 years, Mary and I have tried to find somebody that we could work with, and we never did. Not that there weren't people around, but they might have been over there, and we were over here. And these guys, the Warrens, I got to tell you, are incredible people. Incredible. And I came back because I'm going to introduce Les. He's a little wild sometimes, but hey. He's a beautiful man. Beautiful Thetan. My pleasure. Les, come on up.
Hi. Wow, what a bunch of cool Thetans.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. It's really an honor to have just, some of you guys are just the most amazing beings that I've heard about for years and never really met, and just phenomenal people. And I would like to say the same about Frankie and Mary. When I first was doing my Class 4 internship quite a few years ago, I had a field CS who was a Class 8, been around for a long time, field auditing for about 25 years, and was a very good CS and a very good auditor. And we were moving to Florida from California, and he just said, look, just make sure that when you go there, that when you're auditing, that you have a case supervisor who really does know more than you, although I know you know best. Oh, he has to move that way down from me. I could stand up here, that would make me taller. Okay, good. Can everybody hear me okay? Does anybody care? Frankie was sharing how he got into Scientology, and I thought it would be sort of funny. Some of you may be horrified. So me and 5 other guys were hiking through the Rocky Mountains. We were doing about a 30-mile hike up into the mountains, and there was a cabin that was up there. It was basically a forest ranger cabin, and if you were up there, you were allowed to stay there, and you leave some food, you take some food, you leave some grass, you take some grass, you know. And we were all pretty ripped, and this one guy had blown the comm course in San Francisco about 2 or 3 months before that. None of us knew anything about Scientology or Dianetics or anything, and this guy was standing there, and we were all kind of laughing and giggling and munching, you know how that goes. And so he says, he was talking about this communication course, and he thought it was really cool, even though he had only done half of it. And he said, but there's this really cool thing that they did, and it was really, really cool. And he said, I want you guys, just do this for me, okay? So look around the room and tell me something you could really have. And we all look, well, you know, following orders, you know. And then he says, now look around the room and tell me something that'd be okay to, like, get rid of. And we all kind of do that. And he says, look around the room and tell me something you could permit to remain in place. And he's kind of like on this little circuit now, right? And he's going on for like 15, 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, me and this other guy look at each other and goes, fuck, I've never been this straight in my whole life. What the? Holy shit. So it was like, whoa. I walked outside and I'm going, whoa, there's a world out here. What the hell? That was about 15 minutes. And when I got back to Vancouver, which is, you know, just a few hundred miles from the Rocky Mountains, I was going to be staying with a friend of mine who I'd known for quite a few years, and he was on this thing called the HQS course. And I said, well, what the hell is that? And this Scientology thing was in my mind, and I saw this book, Problems at Work, and I went, oh shit, do I have problems with work? And I said, can I read that? And he goes, no. I went, whoa, wait a minute. And I go, well, and he goes, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll let you read it, but I'm going to bet you $5 you can't read that book and not go by a single word you don't fully understand. And I went, well, I'm pretty damn literate. And so I took the book, and I was a student at Simon Fraser University prior, and so I went up to the university, and I grabbed a bunch of dictionaries, and I'm sitting down, and I'm reading this book, and I'm going, holy shit, this guy's really cool. What is this stuff? And it kept in the back of my mind was like, you know, look around the room and tell me something you could have, you know. And there's my cell phone. Hey, Anita, it's probably Jack. Do you want to take it? No? Okay, I'm just going to let it ring off. So anyway, I'm reading the book, and I get back that night, and I said, I read it, and he goes, okay, what's the definition of the word of? I said, what the hell do you mean? It's just a joining word. And he said, you owe me $5. So I said, all right, I'm going to pay him the $5. And he said, I got a better idea. Come with me. So next day we go down and I do the personality test, and of course I'm right out the bottom. And I signed up for the communication course, and that was it. 5 days later I joined staff, and 13 years later I went, what the hell happened to 13 years? And I did the whole. I ran just about every post in the whole org, from all the way from book selling on the street all the way up through the various posts and public division secretary, and then I went to Flag and did the organization executive course and the Flag executive briefing course and the data series evaluators course, and they sent me back as the executive director. Doing that was kind of like getting trained all the way through class 6. Never auditing a PC. On the way out the door, they hand you an e-meter and say, by the way, you're supposed to use that. And you get back to your org, and there's a PC, and there's you, and you go, okay, I think I remember there was something about a process. With no internship, no nothing, and then 3 weeks later, of course, you're in treason. But despite all of that, you learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? You really did learn a lot. So anyway, kicking through the years, I managed to get through all the way up through my OT levels. I did knots in 80s, all the way through the OT levels and knots in the OT levels in the mid-80s. Great case supervisor. The actual case supervisor that I had at the time actually lives about an hour down the road here. He's out. And yeah, very, very cool. He was wonderful. And then when I did my audited knots, I had a really fabulous auditor at AOLA, and she was just great. We got along really fine. She called all my FNs. It was really quite a treat. And that was before that was like probably, no, it was the last 4 or 5 sessions was when they changed the FN thing. This was in 87, or 97, I should say, 97, was when they really started changing it. And I remember walking to the examiner, and I'm like blown out of my skull. Everything is like, holy shit, I can barely find my feet, and I sit down at the examiner, and I'm sitting there for like 5 freaking minutes waiting for her to call my freaking FN, and I'm going, what the hell? And it was so invalidative and so disgusting, I couldn't even believe it. The next session I go down to Jolie, what's going on? This is, I don't know, they're doing something on FNs, I don't know what they're doing. And so anyway, that was my first experience with the new definition of a floating needle, and that continued through the rest of my knots. And that was the last auditing I ever got in the church, which was, thank God, I escaped. And so anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And mostly what I'm concerned with right now is just auditing whoever sits in front of me. Frankie and Mary are being absolutely priceless with regard to making sure I have the correct guidance so that I'm doing the right thing with whoever sits in front of me. And I love auditing PCs. I think it's just absolutely fabulous. And also, we're very, very, very much involved in, we want to train auditors. And I'm really into the simplicity of training auditors. Learning how to audit is really, really simple. How many of you have done TR 0 through 4? Okay, good. Frankie, Mary, you didn't put up your hands. The simplicity of training auditors. You can put a guy through a 2-day communication course, and I have all the materials if you want a really simple way of running a guy through a communication course. And then all you really need to do to teach somebody how to audit is you sit down and you say, okay, here's your auditor trainee. Come here, you're going to be my auditor trainee. Here we go. You're the auditor trainee on TR 0 through 4. Okay. Now, here's your PC, right? Here's your PC right here. Okay. Now, you ask your PC, who do you have trouble with in your life? Give me somebody you have trouble with in your life. Say my mother.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, my cousin.
Your husband. Okay, your husband. Good. Now, here's your command, right? You're going to sit here and you're going to ask her until she has a nice win. From where could you communicate to your husband? Okay. Good. Do it.
From where could you communicate to your husband?
From the moon.
the simplicity of teaching someone how to audit. And we used to do the HAS co-audit. They piloted it back in '87. It was like a repilot of the repilot. And when we piloted it back in the '87, we were having so many wins I couldn't believe it. And then that Success Through Communication course came out, and out went everything, including TR 0 to 4. And I really believe that was one of the key ingredients to auditors not getting trained anymore. Because when I supervised the comm course from 1973 all the way through I continued supervising the comm course against direct orders until 1983. And you walked in the door and you were being trained to be an auditor from the minute you started training, from the minute you started the communication course. You were being trained to be an auditor. We don't care if you're just here to learn how to communicate better, that's just fine. You're going to learn how to be an auditor regardless. And I will repeat the auditing question was asked, and you repeated the auditing question, and you started getting the hang of being an auditor. And you were training to be an auditor right out of the chute. I don't know, how many of you have experienced this new Success Through Communication course they've been doing in the church for 30 some odd years? What does it have to do with training somebody to be an auditor? It trains you to be a sleazy salesman. That's what it trains. It trains you how to not answer people's questions. Wow! How cool is that? Let's see, didn't the policy answer people's questions? Wasn't that an LRH policy? And now we're being trained not to answer people's questions because we really don't want you to know what the hell we're up to. We don't. And we don't really want you to ask us either. The simplicity of training is simple. We had people, by the time they were a week and a half into the communication course, 2-hour TR0 with your eyes stapled shut open, and it was wonderful. And then by the time the guy slipped onto the Hubbard Qualified Scientologist course, within a couple of weeks he was auditing objectives, he was auditing self-analysis lists, he was auditing, and auditing was so easy, and it was not threatening. And if you made a mistake, the supervisor would look at you and go, I'm going to give you a pink sheet. Now they give you a SP declare, The yellow thing, The ridiculousness of it. The simplicities of learning how to be an auditor are all real.